In today's lesson, we're going to continue to work on our small version of a practice painting, doing 3 layers on our painting. We have a sky level, which we worked on in the last video. Today we're going to focus on the clouds, and then later on we're going to look at how to do the silhouette. Okay. Now keep in mind we're doing a very small scale here, but the end goal is to create a much larger painting as a result. We've looked at several examples, and here are a couple more to have a look at. What we had to look at was how to blend out the sky. Okay, we took and we taped down on a piece of cardboard. You could tape down on newspaper. We taped down and we worked with the idea of using horizontal brushstrokes to create nice blended colors for the sky in the background. What we're going to attempt to do today is the layer of clouds. Clouds can be done in a wide variety of ways. You could get it done with a brush if you wanted to. You could attempt this with paper towel, or you could do this with a sponge. To have a look at it visually, this top one here was all done with a brush. Okay, you can see the circular motion that the brush went into. Okay, the middle one here, that one is done with a sponge, and you can see how it's soft and it has more of a texture to it than it does with the brush up here. And then this bottom layer was done with paper towel. If you crumble up paper towel and dip it into the paint and apply that to the paper, that's the sort of texture that you get with paper towel. So let's have a look at some of the supplies we're going to be needing today. We're going to be using a palette, and I've grabbed a few colors that are going to contrast the painting that I've already begun. I did this one with blues, whites, and violets, so the clouds that I add on with whites, reds, and yellows are going to contrast nicely. I've got some newspaper set down. This is going to serve multiple purposes for us today. One, to try to prevent a mess from getting on the tabletops, okay? But we're also going to use it to get some of the paint off of the sponge, which you'll see later. We're going to be using some practice paper today, normal size paper, just to practice our clouds before we work on our other painting. And then the other materials for cloud making, trying with paper towel, trying with a brush, okay, and then also trying with sponges. So let's have a look at the different ways that you can create clouds. For each one of these materials, the brush, the paper towel, and the sponge, I'm going to use a technique called double loading. And what that really means is that I'm going to put 2 colors of paint on the material at the same time and use that when I'm painting. Now we're also going to build these up in terms of layers, but we're going to start with a double loaded material, the paper towel, the sponge, or the brush. So let's try the brush first. I'm going to dunk the brush down on one side to get white on the brush. I'm going to dunk the brush down again to get red on the brush. So I have red and white on the brush at the same time. Now to get a cloud to happen, you kind of want to have circular type motions happen. So I'm going to take and sort of swirl the brush, and you can see that the paint is beginning to mix up. We want a kind of a soft look to this. So we do all of these curves in there. Now let's have a look at another material. Paper towel. Paper towel, when you ball it up like this, it has a certain texture to it as you look at it, okay, with these different folds that happen to it. And so what we're going to do then is we're going to dunk the paper towel down into the paint, put white on one side, put red on another side so that it is double loaded, and then we're going to take it down into the paper again. And unlike the brush, I'm going to more just use this to kind of dab down onto the paper. The more that I dab down, the further along it goes. You can see the more that it starts to mix. Here we have red separated and white separated pretty well. And now they're starting to become a little bit more mixed. Now what you get with this is kind of a less of a soft feel. And it's more angled or sharp as you go through. But now we have a clear separation between the white down below and the red up on top, and we have this texture created in between. Lastly, we'll have a look at the sponge. Now, I have a wide variety of sponges that could be used. I've got sponges that are small and round. I've got sponges that are a little bit larger and they're squared off. They also have larger holes in them here. And then I have sponges like this, which try to represent more natural sponges that you could actually find in the ocean. I'm going to start with just the round sponge for now. I'm going to dunk down into the white. I'm going to dunk down into the red. Now this is where the newspaper comes into play. Sponges, if I start to dab down onto the paper immediately, there's almost too much paint on the sponge when I start off. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap down onto the newspaper a little bit to get some of that off of the sponge, and now I'm going to begin to use the sponge to create the clouds. I'm going to put the red on the top, the white on the bottom, and I'm going to dab this sort of back and forth and back and forth. And it creates that kind of texture. So there we have it. Clouds done in a wide variety of ways. Again, using a brush, using a paper towel, and using a sponge.